Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel. We are here to discuss episode 2 of the new HBO miniseries Full Circle. If you haven't, make sure you check out my episode 1 review where we went over everything from episode 1. And now let's continue with episode 2. Now, with episode 2, at the top of episode 2, that is when we see the family of Jared at the house. It's Claire Danes, Timothy Oliphant, the mom and dad, the granddad, Dennis Quaid, and his wife, the grandma. And then we have Joey, the ex cop, who comes with his dog. And the concern right now is, do we help this kid, Nikki? Do we let the kidnappers continue to believe they have Jared? But Claire Danes' issue is, oh, well, what about Jared? What if they come after him? He needs to be safe. So now the plan is Joey is going to take Jared to his family's secluded hunting cabin, and Timothy Oliphant and Dennis Quaid are going to go and get the money from Dennis Quaid's line of credit at the casino. Now, something for us to put a pin in, because remember, we got a lot of little stuff and will likely, mean something, or they'll explain it later. But Dennis Quaid is wondering, who knows about my line of credit at the casino? Because when the kidnappers, Aki calls, and remember, and Claire Danes and Timothy Oliphant is like, where are we supposed to get money like that? Aki says, ask your father-in-law about his line of credit at the casino. So now the whole thing is, who could possibly know about his line of credit? And let me just say, I feel like the casino guys are the mob. It was giving me Goodfellas. It was giving me Casino with Robert De Niro. I don't know, but they giving me the mob. So Dennis Quaid and Timothy Oliphant go meet up in like this parking lot. We get an exchange of the money in these bags, and Dennis Quaid has to like sign some paperwork for it, and then the guy like asks his autograph or something like that, child, because remember, he's a famous celebrity chef. So Dennis Quaid, after the exchange with the money, he goes back to his daughter's home with some guys from the casino that again look like mobsters, but I don't know, child. And Timothy Oliphant goes to pay the ransom, but Akid is just giving him small information at a time. He's not really telling him where the hell to go, right? Now, something that happens in this episode is, remember when Javier was on the phone with Mel, the postal inspector? Remember, he had her card? Well, we find that card in the room where all the boys sleep. So now we have an issue. Now we know that we might, have somebody possibly snitching or whatever. So Garmin goes to see Mrs. Mahabir to tell her about the card being found. She ain't really too concerned. Like, all she care about is this kidnapping and killing this kid and getting this curse off. And she like, we'll deal with it. But Garmin ends up going to get some reinforcements. He calls up this guy like, hey, are you busy? I need you now for a job. I can go pick you up. So we end up jumping back to Akid in the car for the kidnapping. He's saying his stomach feel like acid. He steps out of the car, and when we see him walking back to van, when we see Akid coming back to the van, that's when Garmin and his dude show up. And baby, one of the guys got a gun with a silencer. So we don't know what's really finna go down at this point. So, of course, I'm hoping on nothing happen to Javier and Louise, but they end up getting in the van. And this is when it kind of gets known, because remember I told you Mrs. Mahabir, aka Savvy, put Akid in charge of the little kidnapping thing. He think he running things, but really he not. So this is when it kind of comes to fruition that, baby, you not running nothing. So Garmin and the two guys come up in the van, and Pull up, Aki. Like, baby, you wasn't ever really hip to the full scope of what was happening. And you weren't ever really running things. But Garmin tries to say that them coming in and taking over was just if things went wrong. But I kind of feel like, baby, that was the plan from the beginning. But he ends up telling them that they found the card from the postal inspector amongst the beds. And all of a sudden, baby just shoot and kill the guy in the back. And when I tell you, he flew back to the wall, he gasping and he tripping. And Paul, Louise, and Javier are both in the front seat looking at each other like, nigga. Like they looking at each other like, what the you get me into? What I get you into? What I get us into? Because I didn't even know we was going to be into this ish. But Garmin ends up saying they found the postal inspector's card under that kid's bed. So they checked him for like a wire. And I'm just like, I'm glad Javier and Louise ain't get killed. But I'm like, Javier, you got that kid killed because your dumb ass couldn't keep up with the card. Like, how did you drop it or whatever the hell you did? Presumably, though, when Aki came in the room when he was on the phone with the postal inspector and kind of startled him, I guess, and he just dropped the card, child. But god dang, you got that kid killed. So Garmin ends up telling them, like, this is the plan. And when Garmin leaves, the guy that's left in there, Akita's like, why are we going to this public park? And the guy says that's what your aunt wants. And Akita's like, my aunt would never do nothing that stupid. Why would we go to a crowded public park? But he don't know the full scope of everything that's supposed to happen. Now, remember, Natalia and Louise have their little side plan to save the kid's life. So we also see Natalia riding the bike with the same little thing that they're putting the kid's body in, the same exact thing. She's riding it. She's getting to the park because we're supposed to meet up and switch it out right now. Timothy Olyphant is in his car. And y'all, this was so confusing. I feel like, did he drive around town just to go back home? Because he's on the phone. Aki tells him, go to Lower Manhattan. He won't give him everywhere he going. And Timothy Olyphant notices his phone is literally about dead. And y'all, this felt unrealistic. Who ain't got a car charger? Especially if you damn rich, high society people who do not have a car charger. I do not buy that for a second that this man ain't got a car charger. Like, Uber drivers got a car charger. Everybody, well, I won't use an absolute, but most people have a car charger. That just felt so unrealistic to me. So while he waiting for further instructions, he goes into this corner store, Timothy Olyphant, and he gets a car charger. And he plugs his phone in. Aki calls him back, tells him to go to this garage. He won't give him full, he just keeps giving him pieces of the instructions. And what was funny to me, I would feel like I'm dealing with some kidnappers. I don't know what they're doing. Because when he's giving him instructions, and Akita's like, go to Lower Manhattan. Why am I going there? And then what? I don't know. Just go. That's what I'm sitting here like, I thought you was in charge. Like, am I not speaking to the person in charge? But y'all, that's why I say it's giving me Fargo vibes just in the little box dummies doing the kidnapping little part of the story. That's the only, part of Fargo that like this is giving me. But just in that. But Timothy Olyphant finally gets to the garage and notices his phone is on 1%. The plug was not fully plugged in. So Aki calls. Timothy Olyphant hops out of the car because he's getting bags out of the trunk. And I kind of felt like, baby, stay in the car with the phone plugged up until you get full instructions. But at the same time, there's a deadline. He has to get the money in the park by 1:10 a.m. So presumably that's why he just gets out of the car and goes to try to grab the bags because he trying to rush. But I felt like your phone is at 1%. It could literally die at any moment. Like, keep it plugged in until you get the instructions. But anyway, he jumps out of the car. He's trying to grab the bags of money out of the trunk. And Timothy Olyphant is like, my phone is at 1%. It's about to die. I need you to go ahead and give me all the instructions. And this was way too complicated because our kid is giving him XYZ instructions, but he's like, once you get to the entrance of the park, then I need to give you more instructions for exactly where to go. But of course, the phone dies. And Timothy Olyphant tries to, run to the park with the money with his phone dead. And Aki is in the van like, I think his phone died, or either he hung up and don't care about his son. So the guy that Garmin brought, they've been giving Nikki, the kidnapped kid who they think is Jared, they've been giving him sleeping pills, forcing him to swallow sleeping pills. So he's kind of knocked out, but he done already seen everybody face child. But like, I can't literally look the kid in the face. Like, nobody has covered this kid's eyes. After he see everybody's face, then we force him to swallow some sleeping pills. So whatever the hell. He saw all the 4 guys' faces. He just ain't see the big people like Garmin them. He didn't see their faces. But the 4 guys in the van, he saw everybody's face, child. So we take the kid, put him in the little buggy, close it up. It reminds me of, like, you know how people sell ice cream or something in the park and it has like that big little container? That's what we kind of put the kid in. It's connected to a bicycle. And the instructions for Louise is to ride the bicycle around the park, meet at a certain point, and at 1:10 a.m., the guy that Garmin brought is supposed to shoot the kid in the middle of the park in that thing. And remember, we have to shoot him inside this circle that the black guy made, who I said was playing chess with Dennis Quaid in the park, and his name is Mr. Willoughby. I think that's how you pronounce it. I got it in my notes. I think it's pronounced Mr. Willoughby. Y'all, there's so many goddamn characters, child. But remember, we got that annoying ass Inspector Mel. So she, of course, she don't listen to what her boss tell her to do, and she goes to the park anyway. But I thought this was weird. She's like getting an ice cream cone. And I'm like, baby, ain't you working? Why are you getting an ice cream cone on the job? And I thought this was like dangerous and you was asking for backup, but you could get an ice cream cone, whatever the hell, child. Now, I don't know if this is going to come up. When Mel is getting her ice cream, she's around folks, she's on her cell phone. She called Javier's phone. She leaves a voicemail saying, my life is falling apart. First of all, lady, are you a professional or not? Why are you telling your little CI your life falling apart? Like, y'all, I can't with this lady. But anyway, she's on his voicemail saying, my life is falling apart and I'll make sure yours does too. And she like threatening him because she want to know what's going down at the park. And she says Javier's name. This Mr. Willoughby guy is next to her when she's going off on the phone. And I don't know if he heard her say the boy name or if he even knows this young man's name to, you know, like know he works with Mrs. Mahadir and Garmin them. I don't know. So I don't know if this is going to come up, but it felt like to me he was right the hell there. She was talking loud as hell in a crowd. I feel like he heard her say Javier's name. And please, I just really hope that young man don't get killed. But Louise riding through the park, comes across his sister. They trade bikes. So he has the dummy and she has the real kid. She rides off. When the episode ends, we don't know where she took the kid. We haven't gotten there yet. But the last we see, she rides off with Nikki. And Louise meets back up with the guy with the gun and Javier. And the guy is like, what are you doing? Like, we have this time. This time is very important. And like I said, everything has something to do with a circle. The number they gave them for the ransom was the number that equals pi equals a full circle. So this 110 thing, I ain't no mathematician. I don't know if that has anything to do with a circle, because when we're in the car and we're waiting for trying to give Timothy Oliphant's character a chance to bring us the money to the park, Akeed has old boy call his boss to be like the guy that, you know, supposed to be taking the curse off, who trying to get the comeuppance on Dennis Quaid character who did this whole thing, Mrs. Mahadir, y'all. So it's a lot of characters, but that's who he is. He tells the guy to call him and ask, can we get more time? Because we're trying to give Timothy Oliphant a chance to bring the money to the park. Because remember, Akeed don't know that the whole plan is to just kill the kid. He trying to get the damn money, child. But the guy is like, it has to be 110. Well, boss can't. Is there a reason why it has to be 110? It has to be 1:10 a.m. because it has to be 1:10 a.m. That ain't no answer. Like, y'all. But like I said, I don't know if it has something to do with a circle, or I don't know if it has something to the 1:10 a.m. has something to do with the precision of the get back. Because remember, something happened. It's a grandson for a grandson. So I don't know what 1:10 a.m. has to do with. Hopefully this will be a story where they do tie everything in and give us answers. So maybe that 110 will pop up and we'll call back to the 110 a.m. and we'll know what it means. But anyway, so we're in the middle of this crowded park, and Timothy Olyphant gets in the park. He's like, it's 110 and I'm here. Like, it was, I don't know. I love Timothy Olyphant, but come on now, child. I don't know. That part was just so crazy. Like, I'm here. I'm in the park. It's 110 because his phone didn't remember. So he asks a stranger, can he use their charging his phone? And when he finally turns the phone on, he sees all the missed calls, and it's like too late. I'm blind as a bat. I think I saw that the phone number was blocked because I was like, why you don't just call the kidnapper back? But presumably the kidnapper was blocking the phone number, child. So Timothy Olyphant just sits down on the bench with all the pounds of money next to him. And in the middle of the park, the guy pulls open a bin and shoots. And of course, Javier is horrified because we thought we was kidnapping somebody. We know we was killing nobody. But Luis, of course, knows it's just a dummy. His sister got the real kid. Now, back at the house, and this is what I was saying earlier where I was like, did this guy just ride all over the city for no reason? Back at the house, Claire Dane and Dennis Quaid, them and all the guys there and are looking at this little tracker for Timothy Olyphant's phone. And Dennis Quaid is like, his phone died. Y'all, why does Claire Dane run out of their home into the park? What the? Did y'all just have this man drive all over the damn city just to go walking distance to his house to deliver the rent? I'm so confused. What the hell are we doing? Why did we have him? And I don't know the areas, but they were like, drive to Lower Manhattan, drive to this parking garage, get to the park. Why was he driving all over the damn city just to go to his backyard? Claire Danes literally runs out of their house and into the park. The park was walking distance from the house. Why didn't we just go there in the first place? I feel like this must be a situation where they wanted him to miss the time. When I say they, I mean, you know, the people that's Mrs. Mahadir and Garmin and the other guy that's trying to get back, because we know Akid ain't in on the big scheme. But that was just so dumb and confusing. How the hell did Claire Danes literally run from her house to the park in like 30 seconds? So she gets to the park. Y'all, I don't know. Am I slow? Like, that didn't make no sense to me. Like, that was just so dumb. But Claire Danes gets to the park and she sees flashing lights from an ambulance and she runs over. Now, y'all, the guy I told you about, Mr. Moby, y'all, it's so many names. Y'all, I'm sorry. It's so many damn names. Mr. Willoughby. Remember I told y'all the guy, Mr. Willoughby, that we saw having a conversation with Mrs. Mahadir, who was also playing chess in this park with Dennis Quaid character. He is in the park playing chess with the guy that talked to Mrs. Mahadir and supposed to be taking the curse off and want to have a grandson for a grandson. He ends up having a heart attack and dying in this park. I don't know if that was part of the ritual, if we made that. I don't know what the hell, child. But when she runs over, she's calling for her husband, and she asks a bystander what happened. She figures out this ain't got nothing to do with her husband. She finds him on the park bench, and he's distraught. He's like, I don't know if I'm sitting or standing. She's like, baby, you're sitting. Y'all, I'm telling y'all, the people from this casino is the mob, because old boy looking like goddamn The Rock times 3 pull up like, give me the motherfucking bags. Like, he get the bag. Somebody, he ain't say that. He was just like, excuse me. But he rolled up in that mud like, if the kidnapping is off, we need that money back. But he gets the bags of money and he walks off. So, y'all, I cannot with this whole, oh God. So we end up seeing Claire Danes and Timothy Olyphant at the police station. Because remember, the plan was, we'll contact, when we was going through the whole, should we call the police? Should we call the police? The whole plan was, we'll contact the police after we pay the ransom. So and y'all, I get an innocent kid is involved. They ask the husband and wife, Claire Danes and Timothy Olyphant, like, do you think the kid is dead? And Claire Danes is like, I hope he's not. Obviously, you don't have to know a kid to care about them, but I felt like Timothy Olyphant was just super like distraught. I'm saying, like, bro, it wasn't your kid. Like I say, I understand. I be sad when I hear about stuff happening to people I ain't never heard of them day in my life, because it's just like sad. Like, I get it, but he was like extra distraught, and they're at the police station trying to, file the report, talk to the police, and they're asking if she knows who the kid is. Asking the cop, Claire Danes asking the cop, and she's like, in a day or two, we'll probably get a phone call from upset mom or dad, etc., etc. And she tells them, be thankful, go home and hug your son. And Timothy Olyphant sitting there in a daze, and he's just like, what did you say? I said, go home and hug your son. Like, he is so just psychotically distraught that I'm like, do you know this kid? Like, what is this? But y'all, there is still a mystery surrounding the kid, Nikki. Why was he stealing all of Jared's things? And not just, maybe if you like a crazy person, like the guy from You who be stealing the women underwear, you steal something to have of the person's, maybe something where you could smell them, like his hoodie, but you're stealing like his cell phone. And why are you stealing this kid's stuff? It can't just be because you got a crush on the boy. So there's still kind of a mystery around that. Why was this kid stealing Jared's stuff? But then when Claire Danes and Timothy Olyphant get back home, and that's when they have the conversation where Timothy Olyphant is like, do you think the kid is dead? And Claire Danes says, I hope not. You did everything you could. I'm proud of you. You tried to help a stranger. They flash back to Timothy Olyphant at the baseball park with Jared. Remember, that's when Nikki stole those shoes. You could see Timothy Olyphant look over to the bushes, and he sees Nikki over there, and Nikki walks out. Now, from the POV, it feels like you see someone over there, but you can't make out who it is. But does Timothy Olyphant know? I don't. No matter how I try to fill in the blanks, nothing really. It seems logical. Why would the dad have this kid stealing his son's stuff? I don't know. Maybe I'm just not smart enough. I don't know. But like I said, it's still just like a mystery, and hopefully they are going to just like fill in the blanks as the show continues. But let's see. What else is in my notes if I missed anything? But the guy who died at the park, his name was Clarence. That was Clarence. So I think that was Clarence. Hold on. Y'all, it is so many goddamn names. It's so many characters. Was he Clarence? Yeah, okay. Mr. Willoughby is this guy. That's the guy who was we saw him talking to Mrs. Mahadir. We saw him in the park, presumably overheard Mel on the phone saying that kid's name. Now, oh shoot, what am I doing? Where am I going? Okay, now I don't know if that's going to come into play with her on it. I'm just like, girl, if something going down in the park, why would you say your CI name like super loud? But what was the guy name who got killed? I mean, it's kind of significant, but I think his name was Clarence. It's feeling a little insignificant. Like, y'all, all these character names, it don't matter. Like the people in the forefront, yeah. But what his name is, Chad? He died in the park, and he was the one who wanted, this whole scheme and taking the curse off and all that other stuff. Now we end up seeing Garmin and the guy Paul, who, when I was telling y'all, Garmin came to the truck, to the van with the guy with the gun, and the other guy that's with them, that's Paul, which is this guy. So at the end of the episode, we end up seeing Garmin and Paul, and they're with Mrs. Mahadir, and they at some kind of party or something like that, child. Y'all, whatever the hell, child. So we're at this party. We're having a conversation. Y'all, honestly, I don't know what the hell these people talking about. Garmin is talking to Paul, and he's like, is the principal here? Whatever that means. Paul is like, I think he's Guyanese or I think he's Portuguese. Y'all, I don't know what this conversation is about. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know who the principal is. Okay. I don't know who they talking about when Paul is like, I think he Guyanese. No, he says, I think he sounded Guyanese. I think he sounded Portuguese. And then randomly, hold on, let me move this. Randomly, Garmin asks Paul, what do you think of Javier? Yeah, like, cause remember, we don't know if Mr. Willoughby in the park heard old girl say Javier's name. We know as the audience, Javier is the one that was going, to go snitch to the inspector. So I'm kind of taken aback by Garmin being like, what do you think of Javier? Because why are you just randomly asking about this kid? I don't know. That kind of, I don't know. But Paul don't really answer. He just says, well, what do you think of Javier? And that's when Mrs. She was like, she's telling him to call her Savvy, call her name. He doesn't have to call her Mrs. Mahadir. But her and Garmin finally have a conversation. She tells him to come off with her. They go somewhere private because remember, it's not just a kid that did not know the full scope of the plan and everything that was going on. Also, nobody, including Garmin, really knew the full picture. So now finally, Mrs. Mahadir tells him, hold on, let me see if in my notes I get this right. Because y'all, this story is a lot. Okay, so she tells him, remember, everything coincides with this circle thing. She says there's a circle, and if it's broken, then there is room for bad to happen. And the curse my husband put on our family years ago, it has been broken, and we have closed the circle, and now we'll have good fortune, and all of our businesses will thrive, and everything will be great because the curse is lifted. Little does she know, they kidnapped the wrong kid and killed the little mannequin, not the kid. So the curse ain't lifted later, but she don't know that, but she's explaining everything to Garmin. And as we were going through the kidnapping plot, we saw Mrs. Mahadir sitting at her desk with a picture of, I think it was a picture of her dead brother-in-law. She was doing this little circle. I don't know if these were like pieces of shells. I don't know what it was, y'all. I guess it got something to do with the curse. But as we were going along further and further in the little kidnapping plot and getting closer to the 1:10 a.m. and killing the kid, she was filling in this circle. And finally at 1:10, when we shot the kid, because we ain't really killed the kid, she finally closes in the circle. Y'all, this damn show. Like, it's very enjoyable. But honestly, it's for me personally, it's way too many characters, it's way too many little side stuff. It's a very basic simplistic plot that feels overly complicated. Now, this is where I was talking about my episode 1 video, y'all. I was just kind of jumping to stuff in episode 2, but this is where we also find out a little more about the Dennis Quaid and Mr. Willoughby being, because Dennis Quaid, again, at the end of this episode, remember I was telling y'all, throughout, Dennis Quaid's character is going on about, I'm a good person and I have all these people working for me and I treat everyone right. So this stuff like this isn't supposed to happen because I'm a good person and I'm not an asshole. And he goes to say, I do all these things for my fans and I go visit them at the hospital. And this one fan even came to America to play chess with me, and I went to play chess with him in the park. The fan he's talking about that he was playing chess with in the park is Mr. Willoughby. I'm not sure why we wanted him in the park. Why was we playing chess with him? You know, Mr. Willoughby, and I don't know if Mrs. Mahadir was a part of that, but we do know that the target of all of this is Dennis Quaid's character. The guy, I think his name was Clarence, who has the heart attack in the park, when at the top, when he's making this whole deal with Mahabir about taking the curse off of her family, his grievance is with Dennis Quaid. That is why Claire Danes and Timothy Oliphant's son is kidnapped, because he says a grandson for a grandson. But again, this is one of those things in the show where I'm like, put a pin in that, because we don't know what he even meant by that. We don't know what Dennis Quaid had to do with this guy's grandson. Presumably the grandson was killed because he's saying a grandson for a grandson, but we don't have any information about that. So put a pin in that, along with other things I told y'all to put a pin in that I can't even remember what I told y'all to put a pin in, but put a pin in it. Now, y'all, I will say I can see how a lot of people might not like this show, and it is a lot of drawbacks. Honestly, some of the dialogue and scenes are a bit dull and drab. A lot of stuff feels like very nonsensical. But again, that central nonsensical plot of the kidnapping, it like I said, it gives me that Fargo-esque vibes with the dummies trying to kidnap somebody. But it's just, for me, it's too much stuff that it's just like, does this even matter? Is this even going to play in? The most, it's a lot that's insignificant to me, but the most for me is the character of Mel and her girlfriend. Why do we care about the relationship drama with the inspector? Like, why is that anywhere even in the story? I would prefer it be more in the background, like I said, with Javier and the young lady that he was corresponding with before he came to America. That the way they put that relationship in, that's fine. It's more so in the background, not the foreground, especially because you feel like it's not going to add up to much. It's not going to mean anything when it comes to the central plot and everything that's going on. So the way we've left it now, we got dumbass kid Jared out in the secluded little cabin, no Wi-Fi, out with Joey, and I don't know what the hell Natalia's plan is with Nikki. She got the kidnapped kid, who we think is Jared, but it's actually Nikki. I don't know what the hell she's gonna do with the kid. He literally saw your boyfriend face, your brother. He saw everybody face in the damn van, child. Like, all the 4 guys that kidnapped him, he sees everybody's face. And you know what I'm actually wondering? Yo, is Nikki dead? Because remember, they kept shoving those sleeping pills down his throat. And you never know how people could react to narcotics. You never know if the kid Nikki got some medical condition. Like, I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, that would be the thing that happened, that she tried to save this kid and she opened the container up and the kid is in there dead, and now she got a dead body. But I'm also wondering, how do we expect to get away with this? Because after old boy shoots Jared in the little bin, we take the bin back, we get to the van, and we're told a location to go to dump the body, which is a mannequin. So who dumping the body exactly? If it's just Javier and Louise, we fine, we good. But who dumping the body? But that's also why I said that Natalia and her brother's plan was flimsy to save this kid's life, because what did y'all think was going to happen? Like, when they find the dummy instead of the kid, what is going to leave y'all? Because your brother was the one that ran off with the kid on a little bicycle. We're going to lead it all back to him. So I don't know how they were expecting for this to go down. Maybe they weren't even thinking that far. They were just, it was on their conscience to just save the kid. But I don't know where we're going to go from here. And I can see how people wouldn't like this show, but it's just that central kidnapping that keeps me hooked, because I'm interested to see how is Garmin and Mrs. Mahabir going to find out that they kidnapped the wrong kid. Presumably, maybe they'll just think they killed the wrong kid and they won't, suspect Natalia and her brother, because I really don't want nothing to happen to them both kids. But I'm wondering, how are they going to find out that they did not kidnap the right kid? Because this is a high society, rich kid. Granddad is a celebrity. So the same way we saw their picture in the newspaper, I would think if the kid was kidnapped and killed, that would be in the paper. So when nothing shows up in the paper, I don't know how we're going to be thinking, what we're going to think happened or was going on or whatever, child. So, y'all, yeah, this show is interesting though. It is interesting. It's just some parts where I was just like, okay, come on, y'all. Like, we don't need this. No. And I really hate them making that kid Jared so freaking stupid. I just can't get over how he acted when he saw Nikki get kidnapped. But that's episode 2. And we'll be back next week with episode 3. And again, if you haven't seen my review and recap of episode 1, make sure you check that out. And let me see if we have any comments, any final thoughts. If we do not, I will be signing off. And I will be going live again in about 10 minutes to recap and review the new Bird Box sequel, Bird Box Barcelona, which was a mess, child. Oh my God, that movie was terrible. But we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. So if you can, if you're interested, check out the live stream in about 10 minutes for Bird Box Barcelona. And thank you guys so much.